We have discussed about the terminologies in statistics and about some of the central tendency measures. So far what we have discussed is how to do the fundamental calculations for a set of data. That is, if you are given with set of numbers, how to calculate the mean, how to calculate the median, how to find the mode, and how to find the percentiles. That's what we have discussed so far. So if you are given with the group data set, then again we can calculate the central tendency measures. So today we are going to discuss how to calculate the central tendency measures when you are given with the group data set, right? So for an example, let's say you are given with the frequency table like this. That is, you have classes and frequency. So you have at the class 0 to 1, you have only one element there. The next class is 1 to 2. There you have 4 elements. Likewise, you are given with the classes and the frequency. So if you are presented with presented a data set with this format, we call it as a group data set. So in this case also you can calculate the mean value. So to calculate the mean value, we are using this equation. So the mean value, the sample mean, is denoted by x bar. So that is x bar is equal to summation fi mi divided by simple n. So fi is the respective frequency, mi is the midpoint of the ith class, fi is the frequency of the class I, and n is the number of observations. So if you take this data set, we can illustrate this like this. So when you have a class, you have the lower bound and the upper bound. If you look at this class 0 to 1, the lower bound is 0, the upper bound is 1. So how to calculate the midpoint? You can just take the sum of the lower bound and upper bound values and divide it by 2. So in this case 0 plus 1 divided by 2.5. 1 plus 2 divided by 2, that is 1.5. 2 plus 3 is 5, divided by 2, 2.5. Likewise, and then we are given with the frequency. So we have to take the summation. We have to take the product of fi mi. So that is 0.5, you have to multiply by 1. 1.5 by 4. 2.5 by 8. Likewise. Then we get the product of fi mi. So we have to take the summation of this column. So as for this example, that is 75.5. And if you take the total of the observations, that is coming from the frequency column. So if you take the frequency total, that is 25. So if you divide this summation by 25, you get the mean value. So if you are presented with the group data set, that's how you can find the mean value, right? And for a group data set, we can also find the median value and we can also find the mode value. So if you are going to find the median value, this is the equation that you have to use. Median is equal to L1 plus N over 2 minus F1 divided by Fm into C. So I will illustrate. I'm not going to explain the terms here. I'll take an example and illustrate you how to find the median value. So if you take the same group data set, what you have to first do is, now if you are given with the data set and if you are supposed to find the median, the first step is to find the position of the median. So same thing you have to do when you are presented with the group data set. First we are going to find the position of the median. So when you take the total of the frequencies, here is 25. So the position is 25 plus 1 divided by 2, that is 26 divided by 2, that is 13. So in this case, since we cannot find an exact data point which is in the 13th position, what we are going to do is we are going to find the class interval which consists the 13th data point. So if you look at the first class, it has only one data point, and when you go to the second one, you have 4, that is 1 plus 4 is 5. You have only 5 data points when you come here, and 5 plus 8, that is 13. So when you are coming to the third class, you have 13 observations. That is, the 13th observation is in this third class interval. So this one is known as the median class, right? So when we after finding the median class, so this is the equation that you have to use to find the median. So here L1 is the lower boundary of the median class. So here the median class is 2 to 3. So the lower boundary is 2, upper boundary is 3. So the lower boundary of the median class is known as L1. So it's 2 in this case. So you can substitute 2 here. And then N is the number of observations you have in the data set. So that is the total of the frequency. So when you take the total, it's 25. So N is 25. So you have to substitute 25 over 2 here. And simple FM is the frequency of the median class. So here this is the median class, its respective frequency is 8. So you can substitute 8 here. And capital F1 is the summation of the frequencies which are below the median class. So this is our median class. Below that you have two classes, and in this one the frequency is 4. In this one the frequency is 1. So when you take the summation of the frequencies, 1 plus 4, that is 5. So for F1 you have to substitute 5. And simple C is the width of the median class. So width is just the difference between the upper bound and the lower bound. So that is 3 minus 2 is 1. So you can substitute 1 here. So by simplifying this, you will get the median value for this group data set. So according to this, it's 2.93. Right? And then again for the group data set, we can also find the mode value. So this is the equation you can use. So you can see, just as the median, we have L1 and we have C. So same thing, L1 is the lower boundary and C1 is the width of the class. Only the difference is here you have delta 1 and delta 2. You have delta 1 in the numerator and delta 1 and delta 2 in the denominator. So this one also I will explain you with the example. So if you are given with the same data set, in order to find the mode, first thing you have to do is you have to find the mode class. So the mode is, we know, the value which is having the greatest frequency. So what you can do is, in this case you can find the frequency, the greatest, you can find the class interval which has the greatest frequency. So if you observe the frequencies here, this is the greatest frequency. So it's coming from this class interval 2 to 3. So that is the modal class. So first you have to find that. So after finding the modal class, so L1 is the lower boundary of the modal class. Again it's 2. So you can substitute 2. Simple C is the width. That's the difference between these two values. 3 minus 2, that is 1. You can substitute it here. And delta 1 is the difference between the frequencies of the modal class and the preceding class. So that is the class before the modal class. So the class before the modal class is 1 to 2. Its frequency is 4. Right, and the modal class frequency is 8. So the difference between these frequencies is 8 minus 4, that is 4. So for delta 1 you can substitute 4. And delta 2 is the difference of the frequencies between the modal class and the succeeding class. So the succeeding class is 3 to 4, its frequency is 7. So the difference is 8 minus 7. So you can substitute it here. So by simplifying this, you can find mode value here. Okay. So in this case also you can find the mode value and the median for a group data set using these equations. Right, so the next thing is you can also use the histogram in order to find the mode value, right? So how you use the histogram? So actually when you have a quantitative data which is presented using a frequency diagram like this, we can draw the histogram for a frequency diagram. So when you take the histogram for our x-axis, you have to take the class intervals, right? These class intervals 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. You can take for your x-axis, and for your y-axis, you have to take the frequencies. Right, so it's like this. Now for this set of data, if you take the x-axis, you can mark the first class interval is from 0 to 1, then 1 to 2 the next one, 2 to 3 the next one, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Likewise for the x-axis, you can mark all the class intervals, and the y-axis is the frequency. So in the frequencies, what you can do is, if you take the first class, frequency is 1, so you can just draw a bar with the frequency 1, and the second one frequency is 4. In the third class interval, frequency is 8. So likewise, you have to draw the histogram. So in the histogram, there are no difference gaps in between the bars, right? Not like the bar chart. In the bar chart, you can see bars separately, but in the histogram, we use the histogram in order to observe the shape of the distribution, so you cannot have gaps, right? So how to use this histogram in order to find the mode is, first you have to select the class, the model class, that is which is having the highest which is having the greatest frequency. So in this case, when you draw the histogram, you can see this 2 to 3 class, it's the one who's having the highest height for its bar. So that is the model class. And then what you have to do, right? So first you identify the model class using the bars, and then what you have to do is, you have to draw two cross lines as shown in the diagram. See, that is from these two by joining these two corners of the bars, you have to draw two cross lines, and then what you have to do, at the intersection point of the these two lines, you have to draw a perpendicular to x-axis. And when you draw a perpendicular to x-axis, there will be a point where this perpendicular is crossing your x-axis. So at that point, you can read the value from the x-axis, since that is the number line. So according to this, that value is approximately equal to 2.8. So that is the mode value. So using this graphical representation, also you can find the mode value. So if you are presented with the group data set with the frequency distribution, you can use the formula, or else you can draw a histogram and find the mode value, right? And also, if you have a group data set, we can also find the variance and the standard deviation, right? So if you want to find the variance, this is the formula that you have to use. Xi minus x bar squared, multiply it with the frequency of the class, take the summation, divide by n minus 1. That is the variance. So after finding the variance, if you take the square root, that will give you the standard deviation. So I will explain you with this example. So if I have taken the same frequency distribution here, right? So if you first, you have to find the midpoints, right? We know when you have the class intervals, you take the summation of the boundaries and divide by 2 in order to find the mid values, right? 0 plus 1 divided by 2.5, 1 plus 2 divided by 2, 1.5, 2 plus 3 divided by 2, 2.5. Likewise, first you have to find the midpoints, and then what you have to do, xi minus x bar. So for this same example, previously we calculated the mean value x bar, that was 3.02, right? So first you have to calculate the x bar using that method, and from each and every midpoint you have to subtract x bar. Here, a 0.5 minus 3.02, 1.5 minus 3.02, 2.5 minus 3.02, likewise. And then this, you will get this xi minus x bar difference. Then you have to square this. These are the squared values, right? And then what you have to do, you have to multiply this squared value with the frequency. That is 3.02 6.35 by the frequency 1, 2.31 by the frequency 4, and then you have this one, xi minus x bar squared multiplied by the frequency. And in this column you have to take the total, that is 38.23. So that would be your numerator in this variance equation, 38.23. And here n is the summation of the frequencies, that is 25. So here n minus 1, 25 minus 1. So the variance is 1.59. So for a group data set, we can find the variance like this using this equation. So if you're interested in the standard deviation, I told you in most of the cases we are using standard deviation instead variance, because it's easy to interpret. So what you have to do is you have to just take the square root in order to calculate the standard deviation. So in this case, so the variance is 1.59. When you take the square root, that is 1.26. So that will give you the value of the standard deviation. So I have given you some of the questions, and the answers are also there. So you can just give a try and see whether you will also get these values when you are doing with the calculations. So by now you know the importance of the statistics, how we use statistics in our day-to-day lives, and some of the most important terminologies in statistics, and also to handle a data set by doing fundamental calculations in statistics. So next day we will talk about some of other important theories in statistics. Thank you very much.